You said after the A&M game that as long as you guys learn from these last 2 weeks, it's not going to hurt you in the long run. What do you want your team to learn from the kind of up and down stretch?
Well, we talked about yesterday poise. You know, I thought we lost our poise in the fact that when we got down, we felt like we had to get it all back at once, and because they made some threes early and we got away from our defensive game plan and got anxious. But again, I think we had an effort, but it wasn't a smart effort. And I do know we got guys that you watch it, they want to win, but we just got to be better in those situations when things aren't going our way that we don't think we got to get it all back at once. Because basketball is a game of runs, and we got it where it was too many one-on-ones, too many one-pass quick threes, and the tough part is when you watch it with the guys, there are shots that we've made, and it's tough to tell them not to take those shots, but there's a flow to the game, and we talk about those threes when they're going is great. When they're not, we've got to know the situation, what we need to do to put more pressure on the defense.
Do you think that's been a reoccurring issue this season, or is that more just something in the
I think every game, I say it all the time, it takes on a different personality, and I think players in each game, they you know, we all wish that we could bottle the good moments all the time, but I don't know if it's a reoccurring theme. I think it's part of basketball. It's part of sports. I mean, just watch the Super Bowl. I mean, those guys are the best at what they do, and some of the mistakes they make, they still make, and it's just part of when you're competing and trying to be the best. And when you talk about reoccurring, I think it comes back from guys that just want to win, and they have a passion about it, and sometimes they can get too emotional about it and get in a hurry, speed up, and but as long as you're working, trying to get better, you'd like to think in the end it's all going to work out for you.
What needs to change for your guys to stay in front of the basketball more on the defensive end?
Well, angles for one. You can't open your hips up the way we did, and we have to, again, it's hard to play one-on-one defense. I don't care where you are. It's tough, and that's why it's a team game. And it's not one guy out there. There's five, and it's up to all five guys to help do their job. But when you play against teams that are driving it, again, in-game adjustments. We talked about it, how we wanted to play, and we got away from it. And but it wasn't just a guy guarding the ball. It's a team game, and it's got to be a team effort.
Coach, you concerned about the rebounding after the last 2 games, or was that just 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like the fact that again we don't rebound the ball the way we need to, because we have to, and the fact is we haven't done a good job, but we made a point of that, talking about it, working on it yesterday, and we'll continue to do that because we can't be who we want to be if we don't rebound the ball better than we have the last 2 games.
You ever seen a coach call timeout at center court, and what was your kind of impression as that happened?
It can't happen. I mean, you know, the most important thing is player safety, and when people are on the floor that's not supposed to be a coach, anyone, you can't do that. And obviously it wasn't handled the right way by the officials, but I can assure you it's been addressed long before I even talked about it. I have so much respect for our conference and our Mike Eads, who's in charge of officiating. I can assure you he took care of it probably before we walked off the court.
Is that a moment where you do reach out to the league office and have a discussion about that?
Well, to be honest with you, they reached out first because, and not just to me, to every. I mean, coaches can't do that. I mean, we know it. I mean, the box is there, and you know they're going. Again, I don't have a problem with coaches. Game going on, walking down closer to mid-court, trying to get his team to his attention. I don't think any coach has a problem with that, but you can't go out on the court. I mean, everybody knows that, and it's just. You can't do it. And like I said, I appreciate, again, before I even got to the plane, I'd gotten a text saying that it was not handled the right way.
Pat's explanation that last time out, did you get any kind of explanation?
No, well, he said he's going to handle it, but he didn't handle it the right way. And, I mean, officials are just like players and coaches. We all make mistakes, and afterwards, like you like to think that officials, not just in that game, but officials around the country learn from it. Like, you know, it can't happen. You can't ever let somebody run out on the floor while you know, the game's going on in the flow, because I mean, Tobey, I think, dodged him, and you can't do that. I guess what I'll start telling my players, if somebody's on the floor, just run over them, That way it's an obvious technical foul. But you don't want to do that. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but it just can't happen. It just simply can't happen.
You said you were working on rebounding in practice. What specifically have you been trying to work on to improve on that angle?
Blocking out, going to get the ball. Just it's that simple. You know, we got to finish possessions, and it's got to be, again, there's 5 guys out there doing it, and they all have to do it.
It's been a tough year for Arkansas, but what does impress you about what Muss brings to his teams, and what stands out about his coaching?
Well, they beat Purdue, who I think arguably right now the best team in the country. They beat Duke, beat Texas A&M, and if you go back and look at Eric, what he does, his teams get better, and they're going to fight. That's what they do. And again, his teams have always gotten better as the year goes on. And we know that they have a great arena, great home crowd. We expect it to be as hard a game as any we've played all year.
What makes that such a tough place to play in the 6 or 7 times you've been there?
Well, they've got a great basketball tradition. You go back to Nolan, but even before that, you know, Eddie Sutton's run there when he was there. I mean, they've got a history of, like all the schools that have most great home courts, they've had a long history of being successful, and Arkansas has. They've got a history of being known as a school that has always had great basketball.
You talk about Zakai's mindset being built within his DNA. Have you seen any other players adapt to that mindset, especially after such a tough loss?
Well, I think we got some guys that I talk about transparency a lot, and when we go in the film room, it's pretty raw, you know, because that film doesn't lie. And you go in there, you either are going to look at it the way it is, or if you're going to put a defense mechanism up and make excuses, you won't get better. And I don't think we have a team like that, because we're not, one, I think they understand as a coaching staff, we're not going to allow it, but I think two, we talk to them enough about it that we know what they want out of the game, and we know how they want to improve their value as a basketball player. And the only way you can do that is to be totally honest with yourself, and that film doesn't lie. And so when we talk about it, and when it gets really good is when they can say it to each other. Not just when I say it, it's when the players will say, hey, you know, you need to shoot the ball. If you don't shoot the ball, you're not really trying to help us win. If you don't block out, you don't want us to win. And so when that starts happening, that's when you have a chance to really grow.
How important is getting Jonas back to the way he played early in SEC play, and are players pointing that out to him too?
I mean, Jonas has always been really important to us, but as he's finding out now too, just like Dalton, I mean, people game plan, and he's going to have to take on those game plans, and he's going to have to want to establish what he wants to do, where he wants to do it, and that comes with success. Once you start having success, I mean, there are really good coaches in college basketball, and there's so much out there that you can use to help you get ready to game plan, and everybody's got different players, how they want to use them, but when you have success, it's going to get harder, because the fact that, like I said, you get a bullseye on your back, your game plan for, and it's probably the first time in some ways from an offensive standpoint that people have really done that to Jonas. And so, like so many players that get to that position, it's a learning situation for him that he realizes it's a whole lot harder than he probably thought it before it started.
So what was Texas A&M doing to target Dalton defensively, and you know, what does he have to learn so he can, you know, stay out of that going forward?
First shot of the game, he got a wide open shot. So they targeted him. They didn't do it the first play of the game.
I mean, when Texas A&M when Dalton was on defense.
Oh, defense. Well, again, they didn't do anything different than other people. Other people tried to put them in isolation situations, and we know that going into games. I mean, because that's been the trend. And I mean, I've watched it with you know, they do it to Zakai some. I mean, coaches are going to try to go after your best players, and but they were just working up there trying to get a situation, and it wasn't just Dalton. He wasn't the only guy that got blown by on straight line drives. It wasn't him. I mean, other guys did it too, and but it wasn't anything other than they ran a little stack action up there and said, hey, and then we defended the first part of it. It became an isolation play, and whoever was there had to do it, and that's where we were getting out of our gaps, because we don't want to ever leave anybody, I don't care who it is, isolated by themselves, ever, and we did that too much.
I feel like Dalton's fresh right now, or is he trying to still maybe learn the grind of SEC play?
Oh, there's no doubt he's learning the grind. I mean, he's never, the attention that you guys have given, he's never had to deal with that. I mean, this is all new to him. I mean, I think he's done a great job, really, and he's a guy that, I mean, he's dealing with you guys is easy compared to what he's dealt with me with, you know, and, but he's embraced it, and because he really wants to be a good player, and he wants to be a good teammate. He wants to help his guys win, but all this is new to him, and the fact that he's doing it with a lot of eyes on him is really pretty impressive.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.